A has a is an instance of something that represents an object. Has a means an instance of one class has a reference to an instance of another class. An example would be a kitchen has an oven, a store has a manager, and a bathroom has a shower, but that doesn't mean a kitchen is an oven. An is-a relationship is very self-explanatory. It's when a class inherits the same exact properties of another class. To be able to use the properties of another class, use the keyword extends. For example, a horse is an animal, an apple is a fruit, and a house is a building. But a building does not have a house, and vice versa. Just by simply saying these things out loud, you begin to realize what an is-a and a has-a relationship is. Just say these things out loud. The fruit does not have an apple. We have a class called chef, which is going to extend from person because a chef is a person. So that is an is-a relationship. And in this person class, I made a public method called speak, and what it's supposed to do is return hello world. And then in our chef class, it is simply showing how chef has access to the person class. When it comes to describing a is-a relationship between two classes, you have to use the keyword extends. Extends gives you access to whatever you're extending from, which in this case is person. And because chef is extending from person, it has access to this method, meaning it doesn't have to create its own speak method to be able to use it. So basically, just for demonstration purposes, I made an object of chef and I showed how chef has access to .speak. Because chef is extended from person, it has access to that class, so you don't have to make a speak method on its own. So basically, we don't have to create a new method called speak. Instead, we can just simply call it from the class we are extending from. So that is one example. Another example of how chef is an is-a relationship to person, we can simply override that method, which basically means we can take this method and use it without creating a completely new method, and we can actually alter that method to make it specific to chef. So overriding a method is when you're using a method from an extended class and altering it to be specific to that class. So this is how you would override a method. You use @override, use the same method name, and you return super speak. So to print out this method and see what it's doing, we need public static void main. We are going to need a chef object. You could always, it's much better to do this in a completely different class, like a test class or something, but just to get straight to the point, we can do it in here. And of course, we can simply print out this method. But that is basically the same example as the last one, except we haven't actually changed this method. We can alter this method so that it says something that a chef would say. So I could literally add, I love food. So it should say, hello world, I love food. And there you have it. So basically, long story short, overriding a method from another class, which is what you can do when you extend from one, you basically take that method from that class and you alter it so that it is specific to its newer class. So those two examples were an example of an is-a relationship. It's a very easy and simple example. I could go more in depth in a future video. Eventually, I'm going to make a video on getters and setters and on constructors, which I won't be surprised if a lot of you guys don't know what I'm talking about, which is okay. Now we're going to demonstrate an example of a has-a relationship. And here we have a class called restaurant, and a restaurant has a chef. A restaurant is not a chef, and a chef is not a restaurant, but a restaurant does contain a chef generally. So right here we made an instance of chef. Basically what these methods are doing is just printing out what each role in a restaurant does. This is just an easy example, but we have a waiter method and it should print out, hi, what can I get for you? A manager method, which should print, get your job done, and chef, which should print, hello world, I love food. But in order to even access that, we need an instance of chef. So right here we made a chef object and then called it in this print statement so it should print out hello world, I love food. Right here is our public static void main method, and I'm just going to use that just so that I can print out some stuff as an example. So before we do anything, we need to invoke these methods by creating a restaurant object. I'll call it rest for now, just because it's easy and simple. And then to invoke the method, we call the object name and then the method name. So in this case, we want to print out waiter, we want to print out manager, and we want to print out chef, which is probably the most important one, a part of this video. And you may be wondering, why is this not in a print statement? It's because the method already does that for us. It doesn't return anything. Because this is a void method, it means it doesn't return an actual data type. If this was public string, I would have to do return, hi, what can I get for you, rather than actually just printing it out to the console. So that's why this is not in a print statement. Okay, now we can run this. And as you can see, it invoked all of our methods that we created in restaurant, and it called the chef.speak method because I created an instance of it. Anyways, that is a pretty easy, simple example of a has-a relationship. I hope this helped.